We are joined now by Ric Grenell, Senior Advisor for National Security here at the ACLJ and Foreign Policy, to discuss, I don't know, some things that are happening right now, Dad.
Yeah. So, Rick, I've been, for the last 20 minutes, because I had one of the major cases on judicial recusal in the country back in the most people won't remember this because they were very, very young, but during the Operation Rescue days.
Early 90s.
Yeah, early 90s, late 80s.
Yeah. Where
the judge was saying the clients were going to be found guilty. We hadn't even had a hearing yet. And then he shows up on Nightline while I'm arguing and the case, and I'm the other guest on Nightline. But I got him recused. I went to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, got him recused. This judge, and this is what's unbelievable to me, Rick, this judge recuses himself from the Trump versus Clinton matter 6 weeks ago, but then signs and saying it's because his impartiality can be questioned. That's the code section he cited. But yet signs a search warrant 6 weeks later on the property owned by the very same person his partiality he acknowledged himself would be questioned.
On an issue, Jay, let's be very clear, on an issue that was very similar to Hillary Clinton in terms of classified information. Look, I've said this before. I think it's worth repeating. But Hillary Clinton's excuse is that she didn't really know that she had classified information, and she blamed Jake Sullivan for sending it to her. And Jake Sullivan didn't get raided. Hillary Clinton didn't get raided. Jake Sullivan actually got a promotion to be National Security Advisor. This thing stinks. And it's outrageous that what they're doing to Donald Trump, and we have to say it. If they can do this to Donald Trump, they can do this to any American, and that's what they want: political prosecutions.
You know, Rick, I'll tell you where I'm really incensed on this, as you can tell, and that is because the bastion of liberty has to be the judicial branch. I mean, it should be all branches of government, but that's like the last resort, right? And the problem here is this judge acknowledged the violation of the perceived impartiality would be a significant enough issue that he invoked on his own in the Trump v. Clinton matter. And as you said, you're talking about similar kind of facts, 28 U.S. Code Section 455. And that code section says any judge of the United States shall disqualify himself in any proceeding which his impartiality might be reasonably questioned. So he acknowledges that in a civil case, yet in a criminal matter with a search warrant, the same judge who 6 weeks ago said he couldn't be impartial and challenged Donald Trump on Facebook 3 years ago, now signs a search warrant. And I keep almost slipping like you to saying arrest warrant. Could you imagine if this judge executed arrest warrants for people involved in this? Oh, and he just happened to be, so lack of impartiality that he'd recuse himself from another case involving the same parties. I mean, this is what, I don't believe arrest warrants are coming, but I do believe this, that I would immediately go into court. I would squash this warrant. I would suppress the evidence. I would move to suppress the evidence on a motion to suppress that evidence, Andy. And then I would say that the evidence can't be used. Now, having said all of that, I think this is just the beginning of what we're seeing, Rick. The political environment there, they upped the ante on this thing, the Department of Justice, so significantly. Did they not think there was going to be repercussions? And as Logan said earlier, did this judge not think this stuff was going to come out?
Well, shame on our media for once again not highlighting this. This is obviously something that should have been known immediately. And maybe if there was a little more pressure on him or a little more attention on the fact that he's already recused himself even before this, that he would have had the public pressure that he needs to recuse himself again. But shame on the media. And again, I'll say thank God for ACLJ. We're finding these types of recusals, this important information, we're out front and we are able to highlight it. But I do think that every single reporter in Washington, D.C. should know about this. I didn't even know about this until this morning. And I'm somebody who gobbles up news constantly, but this is unacceptable. And I'll finish with this, is that if you're listening to us, you got to get out and vote. No more excuses. I mean, the fact that we don't have people voting as our country is slipping away, as political prosecutions grow, as 87,000 IRS employees are hired to go after us. This is getting crazy.
So in that IRS hiring, this is where you can't make this stuff up. So 87,000 new IRS agents, nothing but trouble. An institution that's incapable of self-correcting. And I worked for Treasury when I was out of law school, but it was a long time ago and it was a very different agency. Now, to make that matter worse, they're now advertising for special agents. That's the Criminal Investigation Division of the IRS. But one of the qualifications are duties to be expected, and I'm going to have Will read it exactly as they have it in their publication. This is exactly what they're saying.
Major duties: carry a firearm and be willing to use deadly force if necessary.
On a criminal tax case. Okay. Think about that one, folks, for a moment. On a criminal tax case, Andy, be prepared to use, as a qualification, be prepared to use deadly force.
It's beyond belief. We're not talking about ATF. We're not talking about FBI or the Bureau of the Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs, or the old DEA, what is known as DEA, in which you're facing the possibility of gangs and drugs. We're talking about somebody who you alleged not to have properly reported his or her income, and you're going to be willing to use, you got to be willing to use deadly force and carry a gun?
Yeah, so, Rick, we've now gone to the land of the absurd. I bring this, it was like all the FBI conflicts during the Mueller program. I feel like I'm reliving history here, that I'm going through this again, but it's almost worse because now you got a judge involved. Bad enough it was the FBI agents and Bob Mueller and his team doing double deals and erasing their own evidence. But this is worse. This is a judge involved in this.
Put aside the idea that the federal government is now arming accountants.
You're right.
While ignoring school administrators being armed while they're trying to protect our kids in public schools. Put aside that and just realize that what Washington, D.C. and the left is doing is literally arming, equipping, and weaponizing government agencies. Government is becoming so big and crushing and controlling that they want to literally take your entire life and control it. And we've got to fight back. I'm starting to blame weak-kneed Republicans for not seeing the growing signs and saying enough is enough. We're going to vote. We're going to get involved. You can't expect somebody else to do something. You've got to do something. This is out of control, and this is a crisis. Red alert.
Yeah, no, it is red alert, and I'll tell you something. I am. When you have judges starting to act like this, that is a danger sign for your constitutional republic, folks. Ric Grenell, thanks for being with us. And again, this is we're on unprecedented times here, Rick. Last comment. How does this play out politically? Do you think? Just really quickly, go ahead.
Let's leave people with some good news.
Yes.
What can they do? How can they get involved? And I would just say, support ACLJ, speak up, maybe run for school board, maybe write a bigger check to places like ACLJ or local politicians, but get involved. You have a voice and you have to step up at this point.
I appreciate it, Rick.